Hi guys,
Hello.
are we on? No, not yet. Our lighting is horrible. Should we sit over here? Let's sit this way. Hi, Seats. You want to come sit over here too? It's a little bit better. A little bit.
Okay, I think we're live
Are we
on
live?
Facebook.
Hi, welcome. How do we see if people are on? This looks so different to what we're normally doing. Okay. I'm going live on Instagram now too. Welcome. Hello.
Hi.
We are doing a live Q&A from our Gutsy Health members with Satori as well, apparently. Uh-oh. So we're having some technical difficulties, guys. So for everyone just kind of tuning in, are we still live here on Facebook? Hi. So we're on Facebook. I'm with Tristan. I don't know how this is going to work. We normally do a live Q&A for members, for our Gutsy Health members. So we're going to be answering some of the questions that they had this week. And I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how we're going to do this. This seems so, I don't know. Okay. Sorry. Whoever's talking, I'm going to put the camera on them. How about we do that? Just in case you guys, I've had a lot of questions about membership. How has membership improved? And for everyone involved, members, current members, and people that want to be members. So I have actually paused on membership because we are working on revamping membership, and I'm hoping to relaunch beginning of May. And so how has it improved? Well, we took away the direct access with texting because we can't communicate with like 100 people or 200 people at a time. And so what we have done with the membership is every week you get homework and you get the first tier of the membership is learning how to be a gutsy cook and a gutsy person, basically. So week 1 is cleaning out your pantry. What do you need in your pantry? What do you need to kick out of your pantry? Week 2 is cleaning out your fridge. You will get printouts. So you'll get sent to you things that you can print out, put in a binder, and basically it's a cheat sheet to your vegetables, to your fruits, to your, like, what meats do you need to eat, right? Like, it's, why do you need these meats? And so week 3 is like spices and condiments, like all the spices everyone should have, all the condiments everyone should have, like the ones that are on my approved list. So throw out your ketchup, buy this ketchup. Throw out your mustard, buy this mustard. Obviously, you don't have to do it that week, but you now have your cheat sheet to tell you these are clean, these ones are not, and why are these clean? Then there's like the spices, then there is the condiments, then there's going to be shopping cheat sheets. So if you shop at Trader Joe's, you're going to have the cheat sheet to all my approved things that you can have and why they're approved. Cheat sheet to Costco shopping, cheat sheet to your grocery shopping, that kind of stuff. And then the next month is learning about your fats, your carbs, your proteins, everything there is to know about it. So you're slowly becoming an expert in these fields. All right. And so we're just trying to teach people like principle upon principle. And that's how the membership is changing. So more like a course, less of like hand holding directly from me to you. So we figured that when it is put in this way, it will make more sense. It will be more organized and more formulaic. And then there will also be another tier to get the recipes and the menus. So I plan out the menu plans, the shopping lists, the meal prep protocols for everyone every week that they can download. It's all of my latest recipes and all of that kind of stuff. So that's the membership that is relaunching in May. And I'll talk about it more when you guys can like sign up for it. And I'll give everyone a free week so you can like try it out, like the downloads, and see it and see if you like it. So, all right. Our questions this week that we got from our members, because members, we do a Q&A with them. The first question was, are there genetic variables that inhibit your body's ability to utilize vitamin D naturally, or that inhibit your vitamin D production when you are exposed to the sun? Tristan, what do you think?
Maybe is the best that I can say. I think that There's a lot that goes into this, but first off, yes, if you have darker skin, your body's going to have a harder time creating vitamin D from sunlight because you have more melanin. And that's totally fine, actually. If there are genetic mutations, I don't think they're very common. I think there's a vitamin D related rickets gene mutation, but that's usually like if you have it, you've got some severe issues like actual rickets, not just low vitamin D levels. But let's talk about good news. Even if you are someone who doesn't produce a ton of vitamin D, you don't need that much of it. If you saw the charts that Janique posted over this last week, the cutoff for kind of severity of the virus with vitamin D levels.
Oh, the chart that I posted in the Facebook group, by the way.
So it was only in the Facebook group?
It was only in the Gutsy Health membership.
So
Facebook
for
group.
members, you would have seen this chart that it showed vitamin D levels and likelihood of different outcomes with the virus. And basically what they found is the cutoff is around, was it 30 or 35?
Yeah.
I think it's about 30 is what it showed. So as long as your vitamin D levels were over 30, you were way more likely to have a positive outcome. And it's not very hard to get to 30. I can say from all of the different blood chem analyses that I do that I would guess about 60 to 70% of people are over that 30 point mark pretty easily.
There's some pretty bad information out there where people want your vitamin D levels to be like in the 70s and the 60s, and it doesn't have to be that high.
Right.
Like that can actually cause some other issues as far as vitamins and minerals go.
Yeah, we want there to be enough that we can pull calcium out of our gut into our bloodstream. But as soon as it's done that, we're good. Granted, vitamin D has a lot of other uses as well in the body, but there is just not a lot of evidence in the research showing that going way above 30 is really that beneficial for you. So don't worry about it too much. Cod liver oil is a great way to get vitamin D without the sun, but sun is always going to be the best route. So if you can get sunlight, then do that. Go ahead.
Some things I wanted to point out, you guys, with vitamin D and being out in the sun is why is it that some people will burn more than others? We want to look at antioxidants, especially vitamin E. And what are the other vitamins? There's also fatty acids, vitamin F. And so if you are low in these vitamins that you get from fruits, actually. So sunlight, sunshine, we eat a lot of fruits. When your antioxidants and your vitamins are low, then you burn more readily. So also people that are out in the sun for short amounts of time and you get really tired, is that you? Put up your hand. That's a good indicator that you are low in certain vitamins and antioxidants because you are burning through your small antioxidant storage. Whereas people that can be out in the sun for hours, not burn, not feel tired, not feel lethargic. It's because of their antioxidant stores. Now, don't be out in the sun for hours, you guys. Make sure you're getting shade in between that as well. But there's a difference there, and it has a lot to do with your nutrition and your nutrition stores and stuff. So we should do a podcast on that.
Yeah, one other factor that can make a big difference with how you do in the sun is the levels of polyunsaturated fatty acids that you have in your system. And those are those seed oils that we're always railing against, the sunflower oil, the soybean oil, all that stuff. If you're doing a bunch of that, it's going to make you a lot more susceptible to problems when you get into the sunlight.
However, you do want to get those polyunsaturated fatty acids from your whole nuts and seeds. All right, because that is protective against sunlight. But if you are getting them in an inflammatory way, then that means that means it's using up your antioxidant stores, and therefore you have less of that for when you're out in the sun, and then you're getting tired, and then you're burning, and you have to go home and take a nap. How many of you are in the sun? Amy, I'm seeing here that when you go out in the sun for a bit, you feel like you have to come home and take a nap. How many other people feel that way? You need more antioxidants. You need more vitamin E, vitamin F, so fatty acids, and that's it.
I mean,
There's
vitamin K
vitamin
could be
K,
a factor, which
vitamin C.
yeah,
So lots of
to
fruits.
some extent. Yep.
And we'll do a whole podcast on it. There's some really great information out there. It's the whole, oh, is she falling asleep? Yep, she is. There's the whole debate on like sunblock versus no sunblock, and we should cover that. I think it is pretty great. What is the best form of vitamin E? So you can get it from what would you say is the best form? Nuts and seeds. Do you want to look up some forms?
Cataplex E. Honestly, that's my favorite source
Really?
of it. Yeah.
Well, they also have a sesame seed oil that is cold pressed and is in gel capsule form. So Standard Process has a sesame seed. Here's the thing is, if you are sesame seed is actually the best form of vitamin E. However, you want to be careful how it's extracted because it will become inflammatory. It'll get oxidized and cause inflammation, right? So if you are buying vitamin E, make sure it isn't exposed to any oxygen. And let's see, almonds, avocados have great vitamin E, coconut oil, let's see, kale, broccoli, spinach, green smoothies, guys, get those all the time. This one also says cucumbers, wheat germ oil. Again, it has to be cold pressed. Like if it's cold pressed, I mean, do you guys wonder, is this one still going on, by the way? The Facebook one? Yeah. So do you guys ever wonder why cold pressed extra virgin organic olive oil is so important? It's because they are extracting that oil in a cold setting. If you extract it with heat, then that's when it becomes like inflammatory and oxidizes and causes issues. So there you go. All right, so that was vitamin E. Do you want to hold this while I get someone asked about migraines. So let's talk, you guys, migraines are really complex because it depends on what is causing the migraines. Migraines are a symptom of something that is happening.
Actually, I want to show you on something.
Where are you going?
Give you this for a second.
Give that to me. Where are you going though?
I just want to grab something real quick about headaches.
So I'll give you my example of migraines, and it's whenever I tend to exceed about 50 grams of sugar a day, massive migraine. So that is my body's reaction to inflammation. Can you guys see me here? So that's my body's, and if everyone on Facebook here is wondering what I'm stroking, it's Satori's head. She's asleep right now. So it's often an inflammatory response. That can be like, is it systemic inflammation? Is it gut inflammation? Is it a hormonal inflammatory response? That is what we need to figure out. Again,
so here's why headaches are so hard. This is a little booklet about the different types of headaches. You see how many there are? Can you see that?
There's lots.
It's not
a one size fits all.
Yeah, and you can't really say, oh, this is a headache cure, because like Jeannick was saying, it depends on what causes the headache in the first place. However, the most surefire way to try to get rid of headaches is to cut out the sugar and stay hydrated. Basically, if you do those two things, you're covering a lot of your bases right off the bat.
Minerals too, like you want to make sure that you are getting proper like sodium, potassium, you're getting all your minerals. Just make sure you're not malnourished. Malnourishment will cause inflammation, obviously, and can cause headaches and migraines. It's the same as like, when someone has arthritis, it's pain in their joints. When someone has IBS, it's inflammation in the gut, right? When someone gets migraines, it's inflammation that is responding to the vasoconstriction and dilation of the blood vessels in the brain or the muscles around the skull. Or, it can be an inflammatory response in the circulatory system, which is potentially thickening the blood or like not thickening the blood. And therefore it's creating pressure up in the brain. And therefore that minute change in pressure regulation is creating an imbalance, which is symptomatic of a migraine or a headache. So it could be multiple things, you guys. If you want to say anything, can you hold that? Hold that, because I need to look at the other questions. There's more questions, you guys.
Another common cause of headaches is imbalanced muscle development. So Jeannick would be able to answer this a lot better than I can. But if you've got really tight muscles, Is it in your chest?
So there's like the
Front
SEM
of your neck?
here. There's the scalenes that are like the most.
It'll cause pulling,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
all of that pressure from the pulling will cause
Yeah.
headaches as
There's
well.
like 8 suboccipital muscles in the back here, and they're teeny tiny. They're like the size of the tip of your pinky. And they're supposed to like hold up this head that is the weight of like a bowling ball and then more all day, every day. So if you have like head forward posture, those teeny tiny 8 muscles are trying to like hold your neck up like this, and then they get tightened and inflamed, and then you get migraines, right? And headaches.
Yeah.
Um,
Tam Dog says she gets a migraine before her period. And
Hormonal.
hormonal is
Well,
a huge cause there.
And yeah, hormonal, like if you're having intense hormonal fluctuations, one, they're probably caused from inflammation. And then two, they are perpetuating inflammation. So depending on where you are in your cycle, you're going to get inflammation as a headache or menstrual cramps, you guys. Like menstrual cramps, like that's an exacerbated inflammatory response. You shouldn't be having painful menstrual periods. So if you're getting headaches, if you're getting migraines, terrible cramping, that's inflammation. Alrighty. So heal the inflammation by decreasing the sugar, drinking lots of water, eating well. Get rid of the inflammatory foods. Sugar is not just the only inflammatory food on the market, right? You get
Right.
okay.
So basically, look at migraines or headaches as a symptom of something else. They're very rarely the underlying cause of what's going on. See what other kinds of symptoms you have,
Mhm.
and then use that information to figure out what
Yeah.
might be going on underneath that you can take care of there.
Okay, question. If people have multiple health problems that have been going on for many, many years, what are the top 3 diagnostic testing tools that you would recommend for them to have a launching point for their healing journey? Tristan says there's only one that he needs.
Well, no, it's not even that. In a lot of cases, we don't even need to do testing yet because we haven't even got the basics figured out, right? If you are not taking care of yourself in the ways that are obvious.
I remember what it was.
What?
Remember I put on my calendar blocked out at 1:00?
What, yeah.
So I just remembered something, guys. My brain, I'm sorry. Okay, it's something different.
Okay. All right.
Keep going.
Anyway, if you don't have the basics of health down, right? If you're not taking care of yourself in terms of the foods that you eat and the ways that you're talking to yourself, the amount of stress in your life, then you might be wasting your time doing any testing, because all that testing is going to tell you is that there's a lot going on that you need to take care of. So first, take care of the basics, right? Go to our website, mygutsyhealth.com/blog/philosophy. And it basically covers the basics of nutrition. And if you do that, you will get yourself like 75 to 90% of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've been doing that for a few weeks, it would be a good idea at that point to, is that better?
There you go. So
It would be a good idea at that point to maybe do some testing and figure out where you can really get things going again. But if you're going to do testing, there's 2 tests out there that we really love, especially if you're just getting started with things. And you don't need to do both of them. You can choose one or the other depending on where you are and what your circumstances are. One of them is the blood chemistry analysis. We cover a whole wide range of things that will tell you whether you've got nutrient deficiencies. It'll tell you about hormone imbalances. It'll tell you about digestive problems. It's pretty comprehensive. And then we also have the hair analysis that Janique and Cecilia do. And those have to be done here on site. So you have to be able to come into the clinic at least for a minute. But it tells you a lot of the same things. Which of your functional systems need most support? What nutrients are going to help you get that support the most efficient way possible? What environmental factors are problematic for you? And with either one of those 2 things, you're going to walk away with a very comprehensive list of ways that you can improve your health over the next few months. You don't need to do other stuff. There are all these practitioners out there, all these naturopaths and chiropractors and you name it. They're doing like $1,500 worth of tests on everyone that comes to them before they've even spoken with their clients. And that is just so unnecessary. Every time I've seen somebody do that, all they do is get overwhelmed by all the
Super
data.
overwhelmed.
And then they end up walking away from their consultation with practitioners with the same basic guidelines that we give people with our single tests. So why are you going to go and do that right off the bat?
There's some doctors that do like $2,000 worth of testing, and then it's like, well, you have inflammation, and now we know which organs you have inflammation in. It's like, well, you just treat inflammation the same. You take out the inflammatory food, stop throwing canisters of gas on that fire, and heal it up, and then reevaluate 3 months down the line. So yeah, it's like, why overwhelm with expensive tests when you could utilize that money into investing in your health? And instead of paying for a doctor, you can pay for a cook. Like, have someone help you cook your food, and cooks are much cheaper than doctors. Let's be honest, until you can figure it out yourself. I always tell people, hire someone, like, if you have someone like young women in your church, hire one of them to come and chop up all your vegetables on the weekend or something, or to make your bone broth and your soups or something like that.
Or if you've got older children, make it their chore for the week.
Yep. Have your kids chop up veggies. That's really the hardest part of cooking healthy, to be honest, in my opinion, is washing them and cutting them. And so yeah, like what we always say is the blood chem analysis tells us a ton. It gives us a massive picture and a lot of details about it. Lots of, like, to the point where people are already overwhelmed, right? And then we try to say, okay, what the example that I always use with people is, okay, I know where you need to go and I know what it's going to take. And for me to say, you need to do all of these things in order to heal would be the same equivalent of me being like, you need to be a concert pianist by tomorrow. It's impossible, right? And so we get some information, which is a lot, and we practice little things in the beginning, and then medium things, and then bigger things, okay? And then that is when you, after 3 to 6 months, you're the concert pianist. And then we can do testing to start fine-tuning. So a lot of people, they come to me and they're like, what do you think about the Dutch test? I think it's fantastic when you're a concert pianist. But when we're starting out in the beginning and you're just still learning like how to read notes, the Dutch test is just going to overwhelm you. We need to get the baseline down. We need to get the basics down. And again, there's nothing basic about the blood work that Tristan does. There's nothing, I would say the hair analysis is a little bit more basic. But again, the homework is the same, and it's still hard and it's still uncomfortable for people to do because they are relearning how to reprogram their lifestyle. And that's a really big undertaking. All right. So
yeah. So the information is great, but healing is not about having the right information most of the time. For most people, healing is about the actions you take on a daily basis. And they're small actions that seemingly don't matter in the moment, but they build on each other over time and become very big issues if they're not the right actions. So take care of the daily habits first, really prioritize that over everything else. And then the information can help you fill in the gaps later once you've got the foundation down.
Someone asked, what is that website again about our philosophy? So it's mygutsyhealth.com/blog/philosophy.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
My Gutsy Health. Maybe I should type it here.
Or gutsy.ch/philosophy.
Gutsy.ch/philosophy. All right.
I don't know
and
if that's actually set up yet, but I
hold on. Let's see. We're gonna see for you guys. We are based out of Utah. We do a lot of phone consults. If you guys want to do a phone consult,
there it is. Yep.
Blood chem analyses can be done remotely. You can do them in your own towns. If you're in Canada, I'm sorry, we can't do it. Let's see. So the Dutch test is a great example of, like I said, the fine tuning, right? Dutch test is great if you're doing hormone therapy, because then you know what hormones you want to manipulate. But that, again, that is human beings trying to do the body's job, right? So when human beings are trying to micromanage the body's hormones, Dutch test helps a lot. But our job, like, I don't think we should be messing with what the body does. All you need to do, I'm going to put this here so we're looking at both cameras. All you need to do is give the body what it needs, and it does it. It's been doing it since inception. Like, that is what it's designed to do. That is what your genetic DNA is all about, is I get these vitamins and minerals, and then my body does the rest. All right.
Now, granted, there are sticky situations that people run into where there's something going on with their body
Right.
and they need that really detailed info that the
Yes.
Dutch test can provide or something similar to the Dutch test. There's nothing wrong with that. But we shouldn't assume that someone needs to spend all that money
Right.
and get all that detail right up front.
Exactly.
This is maybe a controversial statement, but I think that's just a way a lot of naturopaths and alternative doctors try to make a lot of money off of people right up front
It's
because they do a healthy markup on all of those tests. We don't mark up our tests. That's
how much
silly.
is our cost for the Dutch test? It's like $400
For the
It's
Dutch test, I don't even think we do the Dutch test, to be honest with you. I prefer a salivary test over the Dutch test, but yeah, it would be probably around $500, and that would be, your lowest cost if we aren't doing a markup on that. So.
Yep. All right, hold that so I can see the other questions.
Alrighty.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I have a sleeping child here, so I have like 1.5 hands. All right, next question. Multiple health problems. What do we do? Yes. What do you think of chronic allergies and food allergies? Can you heal them?
Okay.
That's a hard one.
Well,
yes.
Okay,
No.
so there's at least a couple of factors here. One of them is, do you have like a genetic allergy that is kind of hard coded into your body? Maybe that can be the case for people, and in those situations, you're just going to have to work around it. But in a lot of cases, these allergies are the result of kind of an immune system gone awry. And that usually comes because there's major gut problems. So take care of your gut first, really. And we're going to talk about leaky gut in a minute here.
Leaky gut, leaky brain.
But basically, one of the things that happens is people's intestines get really inflamed. They get dysbiotic, which means they've got the wrong bacteria and all kinds of other pathogens in there. And that wreaks havoc on your intestinal lining. Also, gluten, right? Gluten has this molecule called zonulin that causes the gaps in your intestines to open up. And when all of this stuff happens and the integrity of your intestinal wall goes down the toilet, food can escape from your intestine. I mean, at this point, it's more like chyme than food, but it escapes out. And the proteins of the food that you eat get into your bloodstream. Your body picks up on those proteins and says, this is not supposed to be here. This is a foreign invader. So it produces antibodies to respond faster in the future. But then all of a sudden, you've got yourself a food allergy, right? Or at least a food sensitivity is probably a better word for it. And as the leaky gut gets worse and worse, you get more and more of these food sensitivities until you feel like you can't eat anything, right? Then that's kind of an extreme version of it. But a lot of these other situations that people have, it's something similar to that. So can you do anything about it?
Yes. Yes. Are you asking me? Yes, you can. You have to retrain your gut biome, guys. Like and there's always that question of has the damage already been done? We don't know until you try. And so another thing that can cause food allergies that we don't realize is extensive amounts of antibiotics. How weird. And yet everyone's been on multiple rounds of antibiotics and now we have all these allergies. That's such a weird coincidence. But you guys, correlation does not equal causation. It just seems like a really big correlation. Okay, so antibiotic use, zonulin from gluten, glyphosate from the sprays of wheats and grains and all of that, herbicides, pesticides, all of these things destroy your gut biome. And so research has told us time and time again, the more the more diversity, gut biome diversity you have, the healthier you are, the less food allergies you have. I was reading something the other day about human, I'm not going to remember it, human something oligosaccharides. And basically it's an oligosaccharide from breast milk that is, that bypasses the stomach acidity, it can't be digested by your enzymes from your pancreas. So it gets down to the bottom of the small intestine and the beginning of the colon, and it helps feed certain types of really important bacteria down there, which helps prevent like ulcers and, colitis and like diseases like Crohn's long term, and so we know that's just one of who knows like tens of thousands of different types of oligosaccharides from different foods or from our environment. We know like 2% of gut biome science. That's really it. And of that 2%, we know that allergies go down when we ingest less glyphosate, less inflammatory foods, take less antibiotics. So, how do we reverse that damage? Well, you have to feed the good bacteria, the good stuff, which is fruits and vegetables, right? How many kids are eating fruits and vegetables these days? Like no one. They're living off of waffles and goldfish and fruit snacks, which two fingers, not three. What is this, guys? So fruit snacks, which aren't fruit, it's just candy and sugar. And so we know sugar feeds bad bacteria, which is going to suppress your immune system, which is going to cause insulin resistance, which is going to jack up their cortisol, which is going to mess up their growth hormones and their sex hormones and all of these things. That was okay. Can we heal allergies? I'm sorry, guys. I love talking about gut biome. If you are very patient and you're very diligent, you absolutely can. Now, there are things that you can do where I've heard of like injections people do where they inject you, like microdose you with these things that you are allergic to, and then your body builds up a resistance. That is one way to do it. It's probably very expensive, but probably worth it, let's be honest. Or you can do it nature's way, the low and slow rate, where you just refeed the good bacteria and you try to starve off the bad bacteria.
Yeah. So we can get you so far, but it does take time. There's other systems out there that claim they can do it faster, like NAET, Bax 300, and they use kind of biomeridian science. I don't know enough about it to really be helpful there, but they claim to have really good results with it. So it could be worth looking into. We don't really suffer from allergies in our family, which is kind of fortunate, but that does mean that we're not super educated on the really nitty gritty stuff when it comes to allergies.
I'm allergic to Russian thistleweed, and I'm miserable come August when it starts to bloom, and that's it.
Yeah.
Talking about food allergies though, as well, like lectins, oxalates, all that kind of stuff. So with our standard American diet, we haven't trained our gut biome to break down fibers like lectins and oxalates. Well, oxalates is an issue because it binds to calcium, but then you just if you're drinking like spring water, it shouldn't be a problem. I don't know why people hyper focus on that. But anyways, what I always tell people is if you've had a gut biome that has struggled for a while, then you want to cook your vegetables, break down the fiber just a little bit to help you break down your food. And so I always say the 90-10 rule. So 90% cooked or steamed or baked or sauteed vegetables, 10% raw. So the raw vegetables are obviously going to be like your leafy greens. All right. Those are a lot easier to break down. A leafy green compared to broccoli, two different things, right? You can drink that leafy green. Broccoli, you can't. You have to chew. So obviously you want to leave raw those that are a lot softer and easier to digest. Then once you have trained your gut biome to handle more fiber, handle more vegetables, then you can go down to 80-20. So 80% cooked and baked and sauteed and whatever, and 20% raw. And then once your gut biome has caught up and has been retrained and you're okay with that amount of fiber, then you go down to 70% cooked, baked, sauteed, and 30% raw. I can do math, I promise. My brain's just really tired. And so on and so forth. So it's nice and slow. If your gut biome has had decades worth of damage and you start ingesting vegetables like crazy, you're going to get bloat and gas and all of that stuff. So increase your veggies nice and slow. Make sure you're cooking, you're sauteing them. And then once that gut biome has been retrained, that's where the magic happens. And then you can start changing those ratios. Okay. So remember, it's like cultivating a garden, right? You need to have the right soil, the right conditions, the right nutrients, like the right amount of water. It's like you have to date your gut biome all over again because they can be a little bit fickle after years worth of abuse. So there you go.
And on that note, let's talk about probiotics for a second. Because you may have heard stories before of people who they took a probiotic and magically their allergies went away, right? Or magically their diarrhea cleared up for the first time in years. And that definitely can happen. The issue is that we don't know enough yet about the microbiome to really get precise with our treatments of it. We're in the early research years of it where people are doing those microbiome tests. I've done one myself from MuBiome, and you send them in a stool sample, and then they send you back all this information about the different strains of bacteria you have and ratios and things like that. And then so far they can give you some kind of rough estimates of potential issues or strengths that you might have based on what shows up in there. But there's not a whole lot of concrete guidance about what you're supposed to do from that point forward. So it's just not that, it's not much of a science so far. And so all these different probiotics out there's no such thing as just a generic probiotic, right? You have the lactobacillus, the acidophilus, but there's all these substrains, and there's a million other different types of strains that aren't even in most of the probiotics out there. And we don't know how much of each one a person is supposed to have. It seems to be very unique to each individual. So finding a balance that works for you is really a matter of what you personally do. And they found that there seems to be more variability based on your dietary habits than there is based on where you live in the world, right? So it's not necessarily a genetic thing, which means the best that we can figure out is live a balanced lifestyle, right? Eat healthy food, get a variety of healthy foods, exercise, spend time in nature, and that's going to be your best bet at getting to where you need to be. Now, you are more than welcome to experiment with different types of probiotics, but it's going to be pretty personal in terms of which ones work for you and which ones make things worse for you. One probiotic might be the cure-all for person A, and it might make person B feel suicidal. It can be that extreme. So
we've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Fermented foods for probiotics are also really good unless you have SIBO.
Or a histamine sensitivity.
Or histamines, yeah. And that's going way into details and the weeds and whatnot. So we won't talk about that today. But you absolutely can heal up allergies. 100% of allergies, I don't know. I couldn't say yes or no. People heal allergies all the time. And so I've seen it happen so many times. And yeah, that's that, right?
Yeah. So what we talked about gut. The other
down.
thing you'd have to figure out with allergies is your immune function. And there are things you can do to boost your immune function, but we're not going to go into those right now. We'll save it for another time. And then there's also some brain factors that we need to address when it comes to allergies, making sure that the right signals are getting to the right place. But once again, we'll save that for another time. Just know that, yes, there's a lot of hope for getting major improvements when it comes to allergies of all kinds. But it's a long, slow process, and it takes a lot of work to get there.
So this is a question. How likely is it to have allergies to vegetables? And if we do have allergies to leafy greens, could the green smoothie be causing more damage to the gut? So you can have an allergy to anything. Veggies are definitely more, they're less, like people have less allergies to them. But there are certain things in like leafy greens, for instance, like the oxalates that people are talking about.
That's not necessarily an allergy.
No, that's more of a
just
calcium
a sensitivity,
binding.
a weakness based on how your system is set up.
Right. There is a genetic component to some leafy greens. Yeah, it could be causing issues. So that's why you want to listen to your body. It's not going to like kill you overnight. But if for some reason you're feeling worse, then you definitely want to stop and explore that. I know there is something in spinach. I can't remember what it is, but
besides oxalates.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's not, but anyways, you could. What is most likely happening is that you cannot digest the fiber. So this is what happens a lot with people. Not a lot, but this is what can happen with people: is they drink the green smoothie. They can't digest it, and it creates a laxative effect. And that laxative effect will start leaching you of other vitamins and minerals. So you start becoming depleted. So you want to go nice and slow with the green smoothies, right? If you know you can digest vegetables pretty well and leafy greens pretty well, then have at it. But if you haven't digested vegetables in a very long time and you're not used to leafy greens, then you want to start really low and slow. Maybe steam those greens and then, or people with like SIBO, for instance, they can juice them. So you can start juicing leafy greens. But you could have an issue. It's so individual too, because, okay, you have an issue. What is the symptom to the issue? The symptom can tell us a lot about what's going on. Do you really have an allergy to it? Do you just have SIBO? Do you have digestive issues? It's a lot. That's just a hard question to ask because it's kind of a complex thing. Do you have anything else to say on that?
No, just reiterating the listen to your body.
Mhm.
If you drink a green smoothie and it comes out as green smoothie, it says
You're not
something.
absorbing it, so
Yeah.
slow down a lot. All right. If it's coming out in like 12 hours, yeah, we got to slow down. We want to make sure we're not dehydrating you. All right. So yeah, you could absolutely have issues with that green smoothie. All right.
Does that mean that you should never do a green smoothie for a diet? No,
No.
it doesn't mean that. It just means you have some more foundational work to do before you can jump back on that bandwagon.
You have some gut healing that needs to happen and some retraining. That's really what it is. It's retraining. Your gut has been so used to digesting processed foods, highly sugary foods, that you're now doing like a 180. And it's like, we weren't trained for this. You taught us to ride a bike, and now we're running a marathon. Like, I can't run a marathon overnight. So, you guys have your gut biome start training for a 5K. All right. And then half a marathon and then a marathon. All right. You don't go straight to that marathon and ultra marathon. All righty. Although those are some great goals. Sorry, I keep your computer is like a touch screen and I keep touching it and it keeps.
And you're touching the end.
Oh no, I shouldn't do that. Okay. There was another question about what is leaky brain, leaky gut. What is leaky gut, leaky brain?
Okay. So we talked about leaky gut, right? Leaky gut is when your intestinal permeability gets too high. And because of that, basically your gut starts leaking. And then that can cause immune issues, autoimmune issues, food sensitivities, all that fun stuff. But there's also a leaky brain thing that can happen. And that's where your blood-brain barrier gets too permeable. And then stuff can get into your brain that shouldn't be there. And when that happens, you can get all kinds of issues, everything from bad memory to just brain fog to, in the worst cases, it can even be like really serious dementia, schizophrenia, things like that, potentially, right? There's not any real hard evidence of this. It's more theoretical at this point. But we do see a lot of correlations between things like Parkinson's disease and this leaky brain phenomena. And so what's interesting about the connection between leaky brain and leaky gut is that autoimmune tends to be very highly correlated with both. And if we're right about leaky gut contributing to the autoimmune, then it could also be contributing to the leaky gut down the line, or the leaky brain down the line. So in other words, the solution for this is kind of the same thing as the solution for the leaky gut situation, which is get your diet back on track, right? Get your digestion fixed. Take care of that upper digestion and the lower digestion. And that's going to be your best bet for the leaky brain. But on top of that, you also need to provide brain support, which means that there are several different nutritional considerations that you need to make, some herbal considerations that can really help in the meantime. And that's going to be I don't know, do we even want to talk about protomorphogens?
I don't know.
Kind of gets complicated.
It's super complicated. Yeah.
But basically, okay, so organ meats are going to be really great as far as getting things healed up if you think you might have a leaky brain situation. Herb wise, what do we have? Bacopa may be a good one. I don't know. This is not one that we deal with a whole lot, but that's what comes to mind so far. Primarily, though, we're going to be looking at fix your digestion
Mhm.
and
Heal
get
that gut.
all of that.
Heal that gut, get the inflammation down. You guys, someone asked earlier, like, what are the inflammatory foods?
Mm.
Sugar, corn, grains, dairy, soy.
Yeah.
Basically
Now,
the standard American diet.
but again, like with dairy, it's not that dairy is straight across inflammatory. It's just that so many people have problems with it, and so many forms of dairy out there are problematic that it's
Yeah.
usually a pretty safe bet to say dairy is going to be problematic for you. Now, if you have access to raw dairy and you do it in small quantities and you have pretty good digestion, that's going to be really great for you.
I'm going to chime in here. If you have an autoimmune disease, I tell people to not drink dairy. Heal up first, because we don't know if it is aggravating. Like, heal the gut, get the inflammation down, and then start reintroducing the dairy again. All right. Like, I mean, I with some cases, I definitely go to that extreme where I'm like, you know what, we can't afford to just maybe create inflammation. And so that's when I'm like, just cut out the dairy for about 3 to 6 months. And then we can reintroduce, like, let's get you feeling normal. And then we reintroduce it and then see what happens. And if you do okay with it, awesome. If you start having like mucus and sinus clogged up and digestive issues, and, thank heavens we cut it out for the past 3 to 6 months, because do we want 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or do we want 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward? It's just, it just depends on how severe the case is. The signs and symptoms of leaky gut are so subtle too. It could be brain fog, and so you're like, I don't know if I'm allergic to dairy because brain fog is my normal. So that's why I say just cut out the dairy. Let's figure out what normal really is and then reintroduce it.
On that note, virtually any food can be inflammatory if your body doesn't handle it well. And that's why digestion is so important. That's why upper digestion is so important. So we're always talking about that baking soda test. That's a really great place to start, because if you have insufficient stomach acid, you're not going to be breaking down any food adequately, which means that food could potentially become an inflammatory problem for you.
Right.
So start by making sure you've got adequate stomach acid. Then start taking the hydrochloric acid supplement if that's what needs to happen. And to be honest, a lot of people may not notice a difference right off the bat. If you're one of those people like me who has all kinds of things going on, but nothing that you really notice until it's too late, then this is all happening silently, either working for you or working against you. And so if you are doing the baking soda test and you're not burping at all, and hopefully people have a way to find out about the baking soda test.
I have a post on it.
Right, there's a post on it. Then you should be doing that hydrochloric acid supplement, even if you're not really noticing anything. There's also a process for finding the right amount of hydrochloric acid to support your system. And there's a whole system to making sure that you're getting enough on a day-to-day basis, because it's going to be a dynamic thing that goes up and down depending on what you eat, how your stress is doing, and all kinds of other factors like that. But that is the number one thing that you should be doing if you're not already doing it for leaky gut, for digestive issues, for leaky brain, for all of it, right? Almost every single person that we work with, we start there and say, do we have this part figured out? Because if we don't have that figured out, then nothing else we're going to do is going to make that much of a difference for you.
I see so many people are buying Zypan. We need to do a class on Zypan, because there's going to be a lot of people. Well, I mean, not today, but there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be misusing it. And so sometime this week, we'll talk about Zypan, guys. What else? What else was there? We spoke about leaky brain, leaky gut. I think that was all the questions that we got from members this week.
Okay. Well, we have a whole bunch of questions in there. I don't know if you know.
Let's just answer a couple, because we need to get to family dinner.
Okay.
So what do you want to answer? Someone said, does broccoli not make you gassy?
It will a lot of times.
It can.
Yeah. It's a cruciferous, and any of the cruciferous, they are almost notorious for causing gas for people. And that's a really good food to cook, because that'll help quite a bit.
But you can also train your gut after a while. Once your inflammation's down, once your gut biome is like it's doing super awesome, you can train your gut to digest raw broccoli. You start with small portions and then you increase and increase. Remember, the body adapts to its environment. The gut biome adapts to its environment. And so you expose it to something and it will shift and change, right? Uh-oh. All right, we're back. My phone's about to die. So you can slowly introduce, but again, if you are starting from zero and you're like, I want to train my gut biome to digest raw broccoli, it's not going to happen. It first needs to learn how to eat cooked vegetables. All right. So kind of the same analogy of learn or run a 5K first or a 3K, run a 3K, then a 5K, and then half a marathon, and then a marathon, and then an ultra marathon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Don't just say, I'm going to run a marathon and an ultra marathon tomorrow. It doesn't work that way.
Right. So some people need to kind of build up the bacterial cultures in their system that can help them digest broccoli. Some people, you have almost the opposite situation though, where you've got like SIBO and it just loves that cruciferous so much that you get really gassy and constipated and you have problems every time you eat the cruciferous. And SIBO is a whole other ball game. So you have to kind of look at the whole context. We actually have a quiz that can give you a basic idea of whether SIBO could be a problem for you. It's at gutsy.ch/SIBO, which is SIBO.
Histamine intolerance is another thing as well. I mean, if you have histamine issues, guys, you have a lot of inflammation, and that's going to be really tricky to figure out again, which is why it might take a little bit of coaching. Another talk for another day though. Blah, blah, blah. Is showing promising signs. Yay! Carol, I know you've tried tons of digestive aids and hydrochloric acid. So the fact that you are saying Zypan is showing promising signs, that's awesome. Not all hydrochloric acids are made equal, guys. And don't buy Amazon because it's more expensive and you don't know if you're getting the right stuff. Okay.
Oh, we're based out of Utah, by the way. Our clinic is in Utah. Did you already say that?
I think so.
Okay.
So
let's go down then.
Okay. Whenever I like this comment, whenever I eat wheat and certain sugars, I get the worst inflammation and pain on my left side. Yes, it's interesting when you start to cut out the foods, how good you feel and how your normal was actually sick. And it just cut out the food. And here's the thing about cutting out foods is you can't cut it out for like a week and then, inflammation is really interesting because it's got a very good memory. And so let's say you cut everything and let's say you cut it out, but those proteins are still swimming in your body. And so after 2 weeks, people are like, well, I don't feel any different. You got to wait sometimes at least 30 days, depending on the protein, right? And then all the proteins are like filtered out of your body. And then that's when the inflammation starts coming down. So let's do a hypothetical example. You cut out a food on day 1, the proteins are still swimming in you after day 29. And you're saying, you know what? This really didn't help. And so you go back on that food and guess what? You're still swimming in the proteins. You still have the inflammation. That's why I say there's no shortcutting this. Like you have to give it at least 3 to 6 months. Get everything gone, like get rid of it, get rid of the inflammation, let the dust settle and let's see what your baseline is, right? And then we start reincorporating stuff again, all right? So let the dust settle, let's do some healing, some foundational work, and then start reincorporating. And then you'll start realizing, wow, that normal 6 months ago was horrible, all right? I know for me personally, I forgot about this, you guys, but we ate pizza at an uncle's restaurant because they were reopening. And so we got free pizza. And I forgot what a food hangover was. And I had that the whole of the next day. And I'm like, this is horrible. I can't think. I can barely talk. I got out of bed and I didn't want to. I wanted to stay in bed all day. And I was like, yeah, this is what people feel like daily. And they call it aging. And I'm like, no, this is not okay. This didn't feel good. So it's amazing when you feel better. And then when you reintroduce those foods, what they do. All right. I think I got it to my point. Sometimes I don't get to my points, guys. I just talk in circles, especially when I'm tired. So, yeah. and then tried reintroducing, and the pain came back, and I was not shocked, but it was really helpful to realize, yeah, it's interesting when we just take out the foods. Oh, this was why I was saying that when you take out the foods, what happens with the immune system is it takes a while for the immune system to reprogram that that food is not foe, it's friend. All right. So who knows how long that timeline is for your specific immune system? To let's say your body has tagged almonds as foe because you have a lot of inflammation. So you cut out nuts for like 3 months. And then when you reintroduce like the almonds, you have to see, has your body retrained itself and now almonds are no longer a foe? Or do you need like another 3 months for your body and your immune system to be like, oh no, this is friend. It's fine. It's not causing an issue. Sometimes it's really hard to reprogram your immune system, like your white blood cells, to not like tag and attack. All right. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. Getting the inflammation down, healing up leaky gut. Because sometimes it's tagging it because those proteins, like Tristan said, is leaking into the bloodstream. So maybe when you heal those junctions, it no longer is leaking, and therefore you can eat it and it stays within its perimeters that it's supposed to stay in. So,
But again, even after you resolve that issue, you still have to give the immune system time to forget about the issue
and
right?
reprogram.
Yep.
Yep. Like and that immune system is really like it's like an elephant. Sometimes it never forgets. And so, well, no, I can't say never because people heal these things all the time. So you want to give it time to heal and forget, and then you reintroduce the food. There you go. I think good luck, guys. Thanks for dealing with our technical difficulties in the beginning. Hopefully you learned something. If you guys are wondering what this live was about, our Gutsy Health members can ask questions throughout the week, and we answer their questions and do a live Q&A. We're opening this up to Instagram just for fun, but I get a lot of questions, and I mentioned this in the beginning. So all you guys that have tuned in now. The Gutsy Health membership is temporarily closed because I'm revamping it. And so it's going to be launched again sometime in May. And basically what it is you get every week when you sign up, well, after you sign up, you get a detailed guide on like week 1, clean out your pantry. These are things you want in your pantry. These are things you want out of your pantry. Make sure you restock with this. Week 2 is like cleaning out your fridge. Like, here are your condiments that you want. These condiments are terrible, and here's why: because there's sugars and additives and whatever. You're going to get a cheat sheet on like my top vegetables and like their vitamin content and which ones I love the most and which ones you need to be wary of if you have like inflammatory issues or digestive issues or insulin resistance and stuff. So you're going to get the common information on vegetables and then the functional information. So for instance, potatoes, right? Potatoes are a vegetable. It's a root vegetable. If you have insulin issues, if you have sex hormone issues or PCOS, you don't want to eat potatoes, all right? Like, you want to avoid them. And so there's going to be like little notes like that on like the foods cheat sheet. You're going to get all of these cheat sheets retraining you on how to be an at-home health expert and like cook, and what are all the clean things, what aren't the clean things. Other things that are going to be included are our top lists of books that we recommend everyone should read if they want to become health experts, because I get that question all the time. We have like a minute left here. So that's what the Gutsy Health membership is. And then you also get food menus and recipes, all my latest recipes. And anyways, it's fun. We got to go. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys.
See ya.
Talk to you later. Bye. And how do we end this one? Oh, because I've been pushing it here. Thanks, you guys.
Share or no?
Yes.